Hello everybody and welcome back. It is finally fall and I have arisen from my eternal slumber. Hi guys, welcome back. I know it has been about a year since the last time I've posted. Life happens. Many lives happened. I think I'll go into detail about it. Maybe I'll do a video talking. It's been a whirlwind of a year and many things. Needless to say, I am itching to get back at it. I'm in desperate need of fall. I can't function. It is still in the high 90s. We had a small respite of light autumn, or at least Florida's version of light autumn, where it was in the low 80s for about 2 weeks, and it went right back up into the high 90s. I think the real feel yesterday, the first day of fall, our real feel was 101. Surrounding myself with the autumn color palette isn't enough. I also genuinely need to increase my autumn apparel and still be sort of weather appropriate, if that makes sense, because, you know, all of the beautiful flannels and wools that start showing up this year and the knit cardigans. I'm genuinely jealous of everybody who lives in actual autumn weather. I'm not really sure what the north half of the country is doing right now, but I know we are not experiencing autumn. That being said, yesterday I went to Home Goods looking for the very elusive cast iron cauldron, because that is just, I've had my eye on it for years through the manufacturer and haven't been able to just bring myself to bite the bullet. But apparently it turned up in Home Goods recently. Could not find it. But it wasn't a total loss. While I was there, I found the most I know. I'm going to be sewing with tablecloths again. I've done it before. But I got a couple of them. Look at these pumpkins. Isn't that the cutest? So, it lists it as 100% cotton, and it feels very lightweight. I think this will sew up into the cutest clothes that will be Florida appropriate. I'm not positive what I'm going to make yet, though. I know on this channel I have done multiple pairs of vintage overalls. I've got my orange drindle. I think maybe we need to have a design phase. The fact that I got a couple of them, I'm actually thinking I'm going to do a couple of things, which I might be biting off more than I can chew, but let's face it, when am I not? So in like the 15 minutes that I've gotten the tablecloths into the washing machine, it has started torrential pouring. I'm not complaining because it will break the heat and the humidity, but I am losing every ounce of natural light. Hold on, let me show you guys. Yeah. I'm not complaining. I'm genuinely not complaining. I ate some ravioli too, so I have sauce face. I should probably clean that up. Okay, it is still torrential pouring, a little bit of thunder, which actually that kind of gives me the vibes. While my tablecloths are in the laundry, I'm going to take the opportunity to do my patterns, get my patterns the way I want. I'm going to use this folklore pattern, and I don't think I'm going to do anything to it. If I am correct, I believe it opens up the front, but I'm going to have to check. Double E, checky, triple checky. I haven't made this one before. It says hook and eyes to fasten long front opening. So I'm assuming that means that front opening. So yeah, I don't think I'm going to make any changes to this. I think I'm going to make it exactly as is. And since this is the one that actually requires the most amount of fabric, it's the one that I'm going to cut out first. And then I will do the overalls. And then if I have anything left over, I'll do the bloomers. To make my bloomers, I'm going to use a pattern I have used before, so I know that it fits me. I'm just going to make a couple of minor changes to it, shortening the legs so that I can add the ruffles at the bottom. And then I'm going to not use these external pockets and do inlay pockets instead. And that will actually end up being a perfect little pair of bloomers. To ensure that my pumpkin fabric goes as far as absolutely possible, I think I'm going to use some of this leftover cotton linen blend I have from other projects laying around as like my pockets, my lining pieces, all of the things that are listed on the instructions as being part of this. The fact that this is almost an identical match, and I do have a couple of yards of it, so it'll go far if I'm using it to supplement. This is my trim drawer here. I've got a lot. I've got like 18 yards of this, but it's kind of rough in texture, so I don't know if I want to use it for this. This is very dainty, and I don't have a lot of it, but I might be able to incorporate it somewhere. And then I think... Pin! I think that I want to use this. I don't know how much I have of it. But I think that would look cute. I do have this pumpkin trim, but it's the wrong shade of orange. Like, this is a really bright orange. So I don't think that's going to work. Alright, I think that these are what I'm going to stick with for now. And we might do something else later. We'll see. I do also have these, but I almost feel like they might be too white. Let's go look. Let's get closer to the natural sunlight. Yeah, it's too bright white. Like, there's no in between. That's too dark. I could... All of my oranges are kind of lacking to do anything with, but I could get away with using this as the tie, the cinching ties for my bloomers. So my pattern actually has me sew this up straight half, 3/4 of the way, and then hem the rest of it. This is my front panel, but because I want to leave it open bathrobe style, utilizing this pre-hemmed section of my tablecloth is the perfect opportunity for this. So yay for saving time. I'm also going to be really precious about lining my pumpkins up. They're not 100% perfect on my tablecloth here. Like, see how that guy has a stem and that one doesn't? And so that means they're shifted a little bit. I'm going to be really precious about lining them up so that my pumpkins don't look janky. Okay, so I've got pins in a bunch of places up and down the side of this. So that way I guarantee, ooh, focus. I guarantee that at every point my pumpkins line up front and back. So now when I cut this out, my pumpkins will all be lined up. For the changes that I'm making to the pant legs on the Mimi G pattern, the leg of these is really, really long, so that way you can actually fold them a couple of times with this cuff. And so I'm actually going to cut them at the line that would be the top of the cuff. So if you look at the original photo of the original pattern, this very faint line right here is where the cuff is supposed to come to. So they'll be a little bit like a gaucho or a knicker length. And then instead of doing the fake pocket flap that goes right here, I am going to do a set-in pocket. I'm also being extremely precious to make sure all of my notches will line up in the corresponding locations appropriately so that my pattern will match as best as possible. Okay, I have got everything cut out and I have almost very little, almost no cabbage left over. Let me show you guys. So I've got a couple of slightly larger scraps, which I can do something fun with. They're big enough. And then this is my cabbage. There's not a lot of cabbage here at all. I think I was really good about ensuring that everything got onto my yardage. To go against the grain on a couple of things, so the waistband and the shoulder straps, I went against the grain because I wanted them to be directional on my body to the way that the pumpkins would lay. So this is the shoulder strap, this is where it would button, and so I wanted the pumpkins to actually be vertical at my shoulder strap. And then again with the waistline, I was supposed to go with the grain on the waistband, and I went against the grain again because I wanted my pumpkins to be upright. It gets interfacing anyway, so, and lining, so it'll be fine. I now have everything for the overalls cut out, which by far has the most pieces and will probably be the most time consuming. The bloomers and the wrapper. Everything is all cut out, including linings, and I've already gone ahead and attached the interfacing to the wrong side of all of the small pieces that require interfacing. So at this point, it's time for me to get started on everything. I think I'm going to get started on my bloomers. This should be the easiest and least time consuming, I think. I might be entirely wrong here. So I've created this diagonal cut line, and that's the section that I'm removing to create the inset pocket. My pocket lining, which will go there, will be out of my orange linen. And then the pocket back, okay, so this is where the piece that I removed from the pant front is going to lay. And so this is where I will line up my pocket bag piece, so that way when I attach it to the front, it will look like a continuous pattern. With all of my full-sized pattern pieces all cut off, I have 17.5 inches left over. It's a little less than half a yard, half an inch short of half a yard. And I did some math of figuring out what I need to make the ruffles on the bottom. I'm going to need a casing, a drawstring casing, the ruffles themselves. And so this actually ends up being the perfect amount of fabric left over to do all of the things that I still need to cut out. Since I took the time to be really precious about lining everything up when I cut it out, I am also going to be really careful about lining it all up when I pin it together and sew it. In working with the pocket that I created for my bloomers, because this pattern did not have a nice pocket right here, you can see I attached my lining fabric pocket bag. I did do some stay stitching so that it stays nice and rolled over cleanly. And now, because we used the piece of the pant that we cut off to make the pocket, in placing our pocket bag on the pattern, it lines up as a nice continuous stripe perfectly. Pocket lining and my pocket bag gets sewn together inside, and then the whole thing gets treated exactly like we would if we were sewing this without pockets. My bloomer fronts are now assembled. Pockets are in. Button fly is in, I think, because everything has buttons. I think I'm going to wait and do all of my buttons at once. So now I can take the pant leg backs and do the assembly. Do the remaining of the assembly. So my bloomers are at the point where I just need my waistband and then the ruffles at the bottom. These actually go together quite quickly. For my Victorian wrapper, my pattern comes with pockets, but they itty bitty. So I made mine bigger because I want to be able to like actually get my hand in there. So feel free to do any modifications and changes to any pattern that make you happy. Like, here's my original. My hand would, once that's sewn, my hand would barely fit in there. In working on my wrapper collar, I had the realization after I had everything mostly assembled that in making the facings for the collar and the collar stand, my lining fabrics, I should have reversed them. I should have flipped it so that it went orange pumpkin instead of pumpkin orange. Ultimately, it's fine. It doesn't really affect the overall quality of the make. It just has a slightly different aesthetic, and I'm okay with it still, so it's fine. This is coming along nicely. I still have to add a few things like sleeves and a hem. I made the decision that for ease and comfortability and for changeability to just close all of the facings with a quick whip stitch. That way, if I want to make any adjustments to the garment later, I can easily remove these whip stitches and get into the inside of the garment. And the entire time I am being very conscientious to not catch the front that will be seen on the outside. Okay, so I kind of forgot to do anything while I was sewing, but I got a good chunk of my overalls assembled. Let me show you up close. I used some of this linen ribbon and trimmed out my bib pocket. The pants are pretty straightforward. These pockets are patch pockets, so they sit right on top. The same with the tushy pockets. They sit right on top. And so at this point, it's just a matter of assembling bib to waistband to pants.
attaching the ruffle wrong side of ruffle to wrong side of pants. That way when I open it up, the seam is actually going to be on the outside, and this is going to then become my casing. It is muggy out there as Hurricane Humberto is actually starting to build. So we are currently under wind advisories, a cyclone advisory, all of the things. That being said, I got everything done. I got all the pictures I wanted done. So yay. And I can stop babbling now. Of the 3 pieces that I made this week, I have got to say, I don't think I necessarily have a specific favorite. I genuinely like all 3 for different reasons. They each have a different vibe for a different reason. So for me, I don't think I could choose which one is my favorite. What do you guys think? You tell me in the comments. In my original sketch, this specifically, I intended to do a sweetheart neckline. I didn't even intentionally do it differently. I just forgot to make the changes to the pattern when I was cutting it out and I was in a groove and I just did the things, and so it is what it is. I definitely think I want to make another wrapper or 2. This fabric is a little warm. I'll be honest, even being cotton, it's a little warm for Florida. And I will say I'm being nitpicky here, I didn't like the way that the pumpkin embroidery doesn't gather well. In those sections underneath the bib where the pumpkins didn't necessarily properly gather, it felt a little chunky. If I were to make this again, I don't think I would use anything that also has embroidery in it like this. I also think I would choose a fabric that is a much lighter weight for this region, just because there is so much fabric involved. And then as far as the bloomers, they're still They're a hair too long when they're untied, but again, I'm being nitpicky. I like the fact that I can pull them up and blouse them at the knee or leave them draped. So in a way, I'm actually okay with it and I find it fun. Otherwise, I think they're just a hair too long. But they are so comfortable, and I can genuinely see myself making them in every single color of linen that I own. All right, friends, that being said, thank you so much for joining me this week on what turned out to be a slightly overwhelming project. I don't plan on doing 3 things in 1 week again, but it was fun while I did it because I genuinely loved this fabric and I couldn't choose. And so I will see you guys next time for whatever shenanigans I get into.
Joining us? What are you doing?
I just have to do, hi, you helping? Hello. I have to attach the waistbands to connect all of them, hem the pants, add the buttons. I haven't even, hi. I can't do anything if you're laying on it. Hello?